This is our first in-person or hybrid event in a little over 2 years. So we're very pleased to be offering both an opportunity to share this with folks in the room, a small group of invited guests, and also with those of you who are watching online. Before I introduce our guest speaker, Colleen Winters, who's the director of the Forest Grove Library, and before I turn things over to our MC, Paul Iarrobino, I just first of all want to thank all of the veterans who participated in this: Chuck, Wendy, Robbie, Pat, and Colette, for sharing their experiences and for presenting their fully unfolded selves in these videos. We'll have a Q&A session at the end of the program, and I invite everybody who's watching online to interact and participate by posting in chat. I'd like to now introduce Colleen Winters, who is the director of the Forest Grove City Library. She will talk about launching this program back in again after 2 years away, and welcome everybody. So Colleen, please come on.
And I'm getting some feedback that it's a little bit quiet, so if you could speak up just a little.
Okay, you know what? I might do this because that'll help. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming out tonight on this beautiful Saturday night. It's quite a wonderful thing to have folks here in our library on a Saturday night. That's not normal. But here we all are. And first of all, I'll start by thanking Bob for his work in making this program happen. As he indicated, we haven't had live programming for more than 2 years. So to launch our in-person programming with this program is really special. And I'm glad you're all here and appreciate, again, that you came out on a beautiful Saturday night. So just a little bit about the library. Forest Grove Library is obviously a department of the city of Forest Grove, but we do good work here. We take great pride in the work that we do to serve the community of Forest Grove, and Bob is a critical element in that. And you maybe met Nathan, he is here as well. He's was until 2 weeks ago our youth service librarian, and now has been promoted, so he has a different job. But the folks that work here are hopelessly devoted to providing excellent library service to the community of Forest Grove. And again, I couldn't be happier to launch our in-person programming with this program tonight. Mayor Truax was scheduled to be here, and he contacted Bob and I late this afternoon to say that due to a health situation, he was not going to join us. But he asked Bob and I to convey, first of all, his apologies that he was making this decision to not come tonight, but also to share from the city's perspective the importance of the DEI work that they're doing. Like many cities, a couple of years ago, the city of Forest Grove launched a DEI project, hired a consultant, and has been doing work sort of internally, but it's about to get external. The persons who are working internally are about to take their show on the road, so that the citizens of Forest Grove are going to be aware of the commitment. First of all, I think that's critical. But also, what does that actually mean? What does that translate to? It's one thing to say we've adopted a goal, a city council goal about DEI. We've hired a consultant. That's all good. What does that mean? So I think that's the part we're getting to soon, is to have the community, again, of course, go understand what the city council's commitment to DEI actually is to. So again, Mayor Truax really wanted me to express his apologies, and I really want to tell you how glad we are you're here. We're just delighted to have you here at the council. So thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you, Colleen. So I want to turn things over. Oh,
Kelly.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, Great. So now I'd like to invite up Kelly Fitzpatrick, who is the director of the Oregon Department of Veterans Administration.
Thank you so much for inviting me here tonight. It's, I think, so appropriate to have something like this in the library, which is the center of education and information for everybody. And I appreciate Washington County in particular taking the lead on this for our LGBTQ veterans. You know, in the military, we have an ethos of leave no service member behind on the battlefield. We have to have that same military ethos for our veterans. Leave no veteran behind. And nowhere is it more important than with our LGBTQ veterans. Our LGBTQ veterans fought for the same values, the democratic values of freedom and justice, and all of those wonderful things that we think of Americans fighting for. And yet, we as LGBTQ veterans did not experience the same type of freedoms and acceptance that others have experienced. Nonetheless, we fought for and were willing to fight for those. So now we've got to scoop up our LGBTQ veterans, make sure that they get access to those federal and state earned VA benefits and state veterans benefits by going to their county and tribal veteran service officers at the US DVA, our state, Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs, our county veteran service officers, national service officers. We're all there for our LGBTQ veterans. There was some injustice experienced by many of us. I'm a lesbian. My wife is here with me tonight. And you know, despite that, we want those LGBTQ veterans to come and access those earned benefits, despite any injustice and unpleasantness that we experience. Please, please, please make your way to a veteran service officer and make sure that you access those earned benefits. So with that, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for supporting LGBTQ veterans, and to our LGBTQ veterans, please go ahead and reach out to your veteran service officers and get those benefits that you earn by being in the military. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to now turn the proceedings over to our MC, Paul Iarrobino. I'm going to read a little bio on Paul. So I want to make sure that I capture who he is. Now, Paul credits his upbringing in a large Italian family in Boston for helping him speak up at the dining room table, lest he go unheard. Is that right, Paul?
That's right.
Having lived in Portland for over 30 years, Paul enjoys performing, producing shows, documentaries, teaching, coaching, and giving keynotes. He's appeared in numerous storytelling venues, including The Moth, Mortified Nation, Bag and Baggage's Solo Fest, Seven Deadly Sins Main Stage, and Seven Deadly Sins Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire. Paul's storytelling company, Our Bold Voices, produce themed events with the support of community sponsors and grantors like Regional Arts and Culture Council, Washington State Arts Council, and HIV Org. And I should also point out that this event could not have happened without the support of Washington County Disability, Aging, and Veteran Services and Our Bold Voices. So we're very grateful here at the library to be participating with them to start a new partnership that I am sure will continue into the future. So, Paul, please come on up.
Thank you. Thanks, Bob. Welcome to our live audience here and our audience at home. Hopefully my voice is, yes, okay, good. It's been a real joy planning this event. You can imagine during COVID, when we planned this several months ago, is it going to be live? Is it going to, you know, and guess what? It's both, right? So it's been wonderful planning. I have really appreciate the planning team from Washington County, as well as Bob from the library here. Everyone has done a great job. And I've had the opportunity to meet with some veterans I have not met before, and you're going to see them tonight on video. For those of you who have not seen the video that we created in 2017 called Breaking the Silence, that video is available on the Iarrobino Voices website. I'm assuming it's also on ODVA's website. Take a look at that. It's a free video that you can stream. And as a treat, one of the folks that were in that video, we have someone who was not in that video, but saw the video and was so moved, he spoke with me afterward. It's going to be one of our videos that we'll see tonight. So without further ado, I want to just jump into our first clip that we're going to see. His name is Chuck Wadelin. He's here tonight as well. We'll have Q&A afterward. So we're going to date ourselves back to the early 1970s. And we're going to hear what it was like to serve our country as a gay man when we had to say, no, I'm not homosexual. We had to check that box and what that meant to him. So we're going to start with Chuck's video.
Up in a military family, I already was aware of certain consequences, not following rules and regulations. So starting my career, I basically was very anxious about that. So I didn't want that to come out. So I started right off, I won't say being dishonest, but forced to lie at that particular time. I wasn't comfortable with it, but it was second nature. Once you realize that you're not fitting society's norms, I knew how to project a straight persona so that it wasn't, and generally I would not be discovered. I would have to make some kind of major screw up to be found out. I was trained as an aircraft mechanic, and working in a shop status, I had different assignments all the way through. I was all the way besides Navy bases. I also worked on an Air Force base at the Boneyard at Davis-Monthan in Tucson, Arizona. When I was in shops with the Navy, I was the safety petty officer, which is training and educating my shipmates as far as how to do their job safely and to perform so that they are working in a safe manner. I did have different experiences, and it was always a challenge. And it would be kind of what you would do, silent communication, just with your eyes, primarily. Like if I was on shore after a deployment in the barracks, hanging around the TV lounge, and you just pick up a vibe. I don't know how else really to explain that. And then we'd go off to our barracks room or whichever his barracks room. So it was kind of like a silent communication that would happen. But no, there was definitely the testosterone was a driving factor. I was not concerned about it during the interaction. Afterwards, yes, as far as precautions, checking, worried, things like that. Beforehand, when we were communicating and enjoying each other, no, I wasn't worried about that at all. I was just looking to be close to someone. So afterwards, yes, all that as far as guilt, worried, that would always fall into place. I was always concerned as far as if the companion or person was to have been caught, to try to get themselves out of trouble, they could turn in the people they had been with. And so that was always in the back of my mind. If I was dishonorably discharged, family-wise would not have been good. That period of time, I can't say I would have been disowned, but in my mind I would have been. A dishonorable discharge as far as trying to gain employment is almost impossible, especially anything on a federal or state level. That's just something that, because as you're filling out your resumes or on the application, that's one of the main things they're always asking. And so that's always out there. It's always going to follow you. I am definitely proud of my military service. I would do it all over again. Again, growing up military and joining myself, this country has its problems, but other places that I have been to, there's nothing that beats here at the U.S. If I was 19 right now, I would still consider going back in the military or going into the military. As far as for sexuality, it's less of an issue, but there's still things, if they want, again, Uniform Code of Military Justice, there's a lot of articles that you have to be aware of that you could still be dishonorably discharged. The other part, as far as the positive, I'm receiving medical benefits through the VA. I have never had an issue with my time with the VA at the hospitals or anything like that. Tomorrow, I'm going to be on the table for skin cancer surgery. So, and they have always been 100% for me. There's education benefits, on-the-job training for things. I would definitely, any kids that I counsel, one, I tell them to, get a ASVAB book, which is a test before they go in so they can get the highest score as possible. That gives them more of an opportunity to have a direction as far as their job selection. Thanks for this opportunity to kind of get the voice out there. And if it helps anybody else with this, that's awesome.
Thank you, Chuck, for your service, and thanks for coming here tonight. At the end of our program, we're going to take a little break, and we're going to do live Q&A. So if you had any questions for Chuck, especially if you're at home, you can enter those into the chat feature. Let there be light. Okay. Our next veteran we're going to hear from.
My name was.
Sorry. Our next veteran is not Robbie, but it's going to be Wendy McHarris. And we're now going down from 1972. We're going to go ahead about 10 years. And we're going to hear from her experience of what that was like for her. Not a pleasant journey that you're going to learn about, but also more reason why we have events like this and to raise awareness.
My name is Wendy McHarris. I was 18 years old when I enlisted in the United States Army Reserves as an E1 enlisted soldier. Prior to attending basic training in Fort Jackson, South Carolina, I was already receiving training to be a teletype operator with my unit in Michigan. I was motivated to join the Army Reserves because, first of all, I was married at one time and had gone through a divorce and had 2 kids, and my husband, or ex-husband, was enlisted in the Army, and so I really, really loved being with him when he was in the military and traveling and so forth. And to be honest, I really liked what he was doing. So that was kind of the big motivator. Also, I was motivated because being a single mom now, I wanted to get the benefits from being in the military with housing and so forth, and thought that I could just start where he left off or failed to finish. Prior to it, going to basic training, the interesting thing is that they allowed me to be with my unit. I think it was about maybe 3 to 4 months prior to it. So I already had my uniforms. I was already going to the service and being a part of my group. I met them. I gotten my driver's license to drive a Mack truck, which was kind of exciting. I really did like the Mack truck. I mean, it was huge. And I also had my license and so forth to have my weapons, my M16 rifle and all that. And at that time I was teletype operator, so I already got prior experience with the teletype. We would go out on maneuvers. We would go and do things, and I really enjoyed having the group. We really bonded quite well. At that time, they were also letting me know that, hey, we're going to let you know what to be expecting when you get to your basic training, and it's going to be a piece of cake for you because this is here. Let's talk about it. And so they really filled me in on a lot of things, such as the gas chamber, for example. They said, first thing you got to do is go in there first so that you don't embarrass yourself. So that was pretty cool because I went in there first. And yeah, you feel really messed up when you walk out of there, but there's nobody watching you. So they prepared me for that. They prepared me for at that time during the service, we were transitioning where women were now doing the same basic exercises as men. They did not differentiate between the two. And so doing male size style push-ups was going to be something that was required that I was already working on and all that. So I was kind of prepared. I wasn't prepared for the fact that my health wasn't as where I expected it to be. And so that meant that going out and doing all the vigorous exercises, I just had some complications medically and found out at that time, because I had 2 kids who were 11 months apart, and it took a toll on my body. And didn't realize that because I wasn't doing any kind of harsh exercise. But when I got there and was having so much pain, they sent me to the hospital and all that, and found out that I really was needing to have a hysterectomy because there were some issues. And so at that point they said, well, we can keep you here, and you can later on down the road, we'll go ahead and authorize the surgery. But until then, you would have to stay doing what you're doing, even though it's painful. So they offered me the chance to either come out of the service with an honorable discharge right then, and then I could pursue it on my own, or I could stick with them. And being only, 19 years old, it was kind of scary to me. And knowing that I had 2 small children at home, I decided to opt out and just go ahead and go home and get the honorable discharge. This one particular evening, when we were, every now and then you get guard duties. And usually they would assign several people from one unit to do a guard duty together. But this particular time, I was assigned different. I was assigned alone, picking different soldiers from different barracks. One barrack here, one person here, one person there. And I thought it was kind of weird, but I figured, well, they're mixing it up a little bit, and I had no reason to argue with it, and I couldn't have anyway. But I was pulled out to do this duty by myself with other members from other barracks. So that made it where this particular time when I came back after doing a night shift, I was alone, and I was told, well, you know, once you go back, the usual thing was we would go back, we would shower, maybe take a nap, and then, you know, at a certain time, had to go back and be with our unit. Well, this time I was there by myself when I was alone, and I think, you know, it was pretty sure that this is when an incident happened where the sergeant who was over the unit came in and took advantage of me. So that said, it was so different, and there was nothing I could do about it because I was stuck in a building by myself. Yeah, there were other people involved with the sergeant's decision. He had friends who were working with him, and I got singled out, and usually if somebody would come back to the barracks, which people normally would come back and forth, there were a couple other people in the building, in the barracks, there was 3 floors, who I guess deterred the other people. If anybody was to come back, they would say, keep going or something. So I knew that he had his friends, they worked together, because at this particular time, knowing that I was getting a honorable discharge, I guess they figured I was an easy target for them because they had me alone. I was preparing myself to leave and go back home. And when I went to get my paperwork, I wasn't allowed to really leave or get the paperwork because they said that I had various things missing, like all of my equipment. And so at this point, there were like several people who were talking to the sergeant who were friends with him, and they said, no, we don't have it, it's missing. And this is when the sergeant was reminding me if I said anything that I would be would be in jeopardy, and I would have all this equipment that was missing, and I would get into trouble. So that was his way of saying, if you talk, are you going to talk? And if so, then I'm going to pull, this stuff is going to disappear. You're going to, be jeopardized, and there's a penalty to pay. And so at that time, I kind of could see what was happening. And I knew that if I said something or made him feel that I was going to go tell, that I would be in trouble and I wouldn't be leaving. So when I assured him that nothing was going to happen, then one of the guys who was working with him came back, and all of a sudden my paperwork was done. It was really fast, and I was then given my papers, my honorable discharge to leave. When I first went into the military, I knew about the WACs, Women's Army Corps. And because when my husband was in when he was in the service, I saw them, I got to get familiar with them, and saw how they were always together. They always, were seeming that they were really enjoying what they were doing and all that. It wasn't until when I joined, then I just knew I was going to be a WAC. But unfortunately, they'd gotten rid of the WAC. This was supposed to be a good thing for women because now women were equal. And with that meant, having the barracks where it was co-ed, where at that point it was early on, so there was 3 floors, but only 1 floor was all women. And the women had to do all the things with the men. And so units were together, where with the WACs, they were totally separated. So I think that there was a little bit more protection, and not having that, I was disappointed, but I was in, and there's nothing you can do about that. But I think that if it had been still the WACs, I probably would have had more protection and would have had more support. When I have young high school people come to me and say they're going to join the Army or military of any kind, first of all, I try to get them to understand that they have a lot more support if they don't just come in as an enlisted person unless they absolutely have to. And I try to encourage them to get a couple of years of college in them at least, to not have to go through what I went through. I mean, I say that even to my own children, that you have to think a little bit smarter, that if you can, you should, and that it makes a big difference, even if it's just 2 years, that you don't find yourself subjected to things that you wouldn't want to do. I think today I would be more supportive because we've gone through a transition where we've had a lot of different things happen, especially early on during the 70s, where you were isolated and people were able to get away with doing things that I don't think they can get away with today. I'm pretty sure of it. And so it was a hard time. The WACs were gone. The new, change and direction of everybody's together, but yet being together, they weren't really checking and making sure people were doing the right thing. But now with time, I think that I'm pretty sure that there's a lot more support than there was then, because people are watching, and people like that I went through couldn't get away with it because there are too many people watching. So yeah, I think it's a lot better than it was when I was coming up. It was an experience I had. Do I regret having it? I regret the situation I was in. Would I do it over again? I don't know. I still have a patriotic side in me. So do I still pull up the flag? Yeah, I might be a gay flag along with it, but I'm pretty happy. I think I don't regret the idea that I want to do it because it defines who I am as far as my personality is concerned. I know there are a lot of people who would not appreciate that because people, some people just don't like the military, but I think there is a need for it.
Wendy McHarris. Really appreciate her courage in sharing her story with us this evening. Our next clip, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. I mentioned earlier about Our Bold Voices. It was a documentary in 2017. And Colleen mentioned the DEI work that's being done all over. The city of Hillsborough had me come out, I think it was 2018, in that beautiful auditorium, where they have the chamber. I showed the film to about 100 people, and it was really, really well received. It was sponsored by the DEI group. And after the film, several people came up and talked with me, and Monica Hand was in the film. And there was sort of a line that formed. The very last person that came is the person you're going to see in the video next. His name is Pat Brady, and he's a police officer with the city of Hillsborough. And he had this very sad look on his face, and he explained to me about don't ask, don't tell. And for many people out there who are not familiar with the military and don't ask, don't tell, don't ask, don't tell sounded like a really good idea on the surface, but it really wasn't. And I invited him to have lunch, and I got to know him a little bit, just like I got to know all the storytellers that you're hearing from tonight. And I created a second film, which I haven't shown yet, because just when I was done, guess what happened? Yes, COVID. So I decided, let me just look at that film. And so this is a brand new clip that no one has seen yet, and at some point I'm going to release it. But I really want you to hear Pat's story from the other side of things, of how this can kind of happen and get out of hand. So next up is Pat Brady.
My name's Pat Brady. I'm a police detective. I've been in law enforcement for about 27 years. When I served, it was in the Clinton era, administration era, and that was during the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy. And I thought it was a progressive, good policy at the time. I thought it, in a sense, provided an opportunity for gays and lesbians to serve in the military. So I thought it was a good start, and I saw it as a positive policy at the time. I was doing criminal investigations, kind of pretty much agent work, particularly because we had Bosnia going on at the time and were short-staffed. And I recall this one time when the chief, the special agent in charge, asked me to go and do an interview with him. And I asked him what it was for, and we were going to go interview a captain. And I asked why and what the crime was, and he says, sodomy, he's gay. I said, well, how's that a crime? He said, well, I said, don't ask, don't tell. And he was like, well, Pat, it's still a crime. If we find out, we still have to investigate. So we had to go interview this captain. And as I recall, the captain was pretty forthright about his relationship and that he had, had sexual acts with another man. And we documented that. And I remember getting back to the station, or back to the office, and talking to the chief, and just like, what's going to happen to him? He's like, well, he's probably going to get kicked out of the Army. Probably have a less than honorable discharge of some sort, and so his career's over. And it was just amazing that it just really hit me. It was like, wow, just it seemed so wrong that a person who is honorably serving their country would then lose that opportunity and lose their career just because they're being who they are. So it just stuck with me. It was something that always bothered me. It just seemed inherently wrong, particularly in contrast to, I thought the Don't Ask, Don't Tell was this good thing, and realized that, it was just kind of like a temporary cover. It just kind of covered something that was still there. I didn't really know a whole lot about the situation until I watched a film, your film. It was really eye-opening, and it really brought to home the feelings I'd had when we went out and interviewed that captain. And I felt very emotional, because I never really saw it, the personal perspective of it, saw the effects that these actions had on people and my fellow soldiers. So that was quite impactful. That had prompted me down the road to do a little more self-education and realization of why is it wrong, and I guess what I can do to help right those wrongs in my small little way. And so that's why I've been trying to participate in my organization's equity team, trying to bring equity and inclusion and diversity into our organization as a whole.
Okay, I can do it now. All right. All right, yay. So that's Pat Brady. The new video has a section there about Don't Ask, Don't Tell, as well as military sexual trauma. It's about a 28-minute video, and I hope to get it released sometime soon. Okay, so when Kelly spoke earlier, she talked about the importance of getting access to benefits. She talked about the importance of veteran service officers. Well, you're in for a real treat, because we have paired up a veteran and a Washington County veteran service officer, and you'll get to see firsthand this very unique relationship and how they work together. And so next up we have Robbie Jurado and Colette Klein.
My name was Roberta Jurado, and I was 22 years old when I enlisted in the U.S. Army in 1995. I started as a private E1 medical specialist EMT. While in the military, I changed my name from Roberta to Robin, which is a unisex name. Years later, I was promoted to the rank of E5 Sergeant and served as a military police officer and was honorably discharged in 2005. I decided to enroll into the military because I felt a sense of duty. I'd get military benefits, and I get free training. It's a good career. The good that we do. For example, in Iraq, I got to see the faces of the Iraqis that were grateful and very heartwarming people that supported us trying to help them. My military career ended due to disabilities that had to do with wear and tear on my body. I was a tiny person carrying 75-pound rucksacks in 120-degree heat overseas, as well as ammunition, doing quick turns, moving quickly to do my duties. What it did was cause me back, neck, and shoulder pains for the rest of my life, as well as PTSD. In my case, it's compounded PTSD in regards to everything I've experienced haunts me intrusively. When my military career had ended, I felt my life was over. I had lost my identity, the camaraderie you feel with people that you work with for years, and the stability of knowing what your job is and what you're going to do the next day. That is completely different from civilian life and is an extremely overwhelming experience for any serviceman or woman to transition from military to civilian society. Assimilating into society after military service was extremely hard due to the demands of society. First, you have to get a job, which I had disabilities that were diagnosed but untreated, and that made it very, very challenging to get a job as a disabled veteran. And so I had lost my sense of self and decided to isolate with playing video games. And they were the violent kinds of video games that I would justify to myself as keeping my skills up, my military skills. And in essence, what I was doing was, well, programming my brain for more violence, which is what happened. And so with that isolation, lack of self, lack of support, until I met Colette, not even support from family or the partner I had at the time, because no one understands what a veteran's going through when you're transitioning from knowing what you're doing every day, getting paid every day, to society, which is all over the place. And it's very chaotic and it's ununiform, which makes it hard for a veteran of war and disabled and disabilities to adjust to. There's a lot of demands.
My name is Colette Klein. I am a County Veteran Service Officer for Washington County Disability Aging Veteran Services. I have been doing this job for 15 years, and as a VSO, my main priority is serving veterans and their families. Growing up in a military family, I understand the sacrifices veterans and their families have made for this country. At that time, Roberta, that's how she came to me, as Roberta Jurado, through the legal system in Washington County court system. And one of the deputies inside the jail reached out to a former cohort of mine who has since retired from the position of a VSO, saying, can you please come and help us? We've got a veteran in here, she's not doing well. We don't think she's going to survive because they're limited in their medical treatment inside the Washington County jail. So she had a court appearance, and my cohort, Jim Palmer, and I went over to the courtroom and where she was being arraigned in front of Judge Butterfield, and it was very apparent she was not doing well. So through some back and forth with the district attorney, the judge, and Jim Palmer, Lacey's House, which is a home for homeless veterans, a nonprofit, we were able to get her released to Lacey's house under house arrest, and which point Lacey Palmer, Jim Palmer's daughter, and I checked on her twice a day, each of us one time a day. Lacey would take her to the VA for her medical treatment, which she was also got assigned to a whole new medical team, including a doctor, primary doctor, psychiatric doctor, social worker, a nurse, and we spent the next 6 months working with her to get her stabilized. Had we not done that, I don't think she would have survived it. The other thing too was during the course of this, she did do her 6 months of house arrest with no infractions. She left when she went to her appointments. Sometimes they were as many as 3 or 4 appointments a week. And then she'd come right back home. Never once did she break the law or violate her release agreement. As a CVSO, we didn't have Veterans Court in Washington County at the time, and Judge Butterfield, who is a Marine himself, saw a veteran in crisis, a veteran who was in combat, and he said, we need to do something, we need to step up. And we did an unorthodox event because it was him also taking a risk with his position as a judge, putting somebody under house arrest. And I went ahead and took the lead. I didn't exactly ask permission with the county to do this. I did it and asked for forgiveness after the fact. And I went ahead and made the commitment of going in and checking on her 7 days a week for 6 months. And what happened was I was able to talk with her, help her with her benefits, work with her claim, and basically just be somebody that she could talk to and vent to, and be this person has no biases towards her identity, just somebody who's there as a friend, who's sympathetic towards her cause and very much advocating to help her with the VA system, so that when she does come out of incarceration, because I also, as a VSO, I'm looking 5-10 years down the road with these people. And when I say these people, I mean all my clients. I'm looking at them 5-10 years down the road. And I'm already working on her stuff. So when she comes out of incarceration and she comes back to see me, I get her benefits started immediately. Six months was buying. They had to take Robin off all her meds and redo everything, and then place her back on meds that would work with her service-connected disabilities instead of working against her service-connected disabilities. It took the 6 months to basically wash her system of all the medications that she was taking. And at the same time, she was going through intensive mental health therapy at the women's clinic at the VA to cope with her experiences in services, cope with her events after service, and tried to find a way to live with it. Robin had tremendous, tremendous guilt with everything she had done. And she was really struggling with that. And as she was coming out of being so heavily medicated and coming out of that really dark spot and that haze and the fog, I would call it, she had to face with the reality of things. And so that 6 months bought her time to get this dealt with, which she did.
When I was incarcerated at Coffee Creek, as a person of uniform, the staff knew it, and I was treated differently. Especially when I tried to act the way I've been drilled in the military, to show self-esteem, to show I'm capable of doing things and that I know how to read. I was treated very, very differently. I was targeted. And that made it very, very overwhelming to assimilate into the Coffee Creek to do my time in peace, but that did not happen. So I just did what I could and tried to isolate myself again while I was trying to work on myself. I began to have a glimmer of hope when I was working on myself alone at Coffee Creek. One day I happened to be in the day room and Caitlyn Jenner was on TV. I had no idea that I was trans, and I had the stigma of thinking of trans people as more like drag queens. And what I did was I decided to figure out who I was. And so I would go into the library and check out books quietly. I'd wait for everyone else to go first so no one would see what I'm checking out of the library, because being trans, you get targeted. And so what I did is I read and realized why being gay was just not enough for me. I felt more male than being a lesbian. And once I saw Caitlyn Jenner, that really threw a light bulb light in my mind saying, this is what you are. You just didn't know that that was a possibility for you. So what I did was I began to make plans. After doing some research, I'd make some plans about how to transition once I got out of Coffee Creek, and started checking all my resources and using everything I had at my disposal to become who I am today. When I was released from Coffee Creek, I was very intentional in my goals and what I wanted in life. So I went and sought the VA and stayed at VA housing for 6 months, where they allowed me to save money and begin my transition process. I completed the probation requirements early. My PO saw I was not a career criminal and that I followed all the rules with no problem. And he said, you can go. We don't need to watch you. After that, hope began to become become more of my life, when I could see that I can become who I truly wanted to become since I was a child. And now I'm seeing that happen. People are recognizing me as a male, which is comforting And I've learned a lot as a female that helps me become a better male today.
When Robbie came out of Coffee Creek, Robbie's already had some resources put in place for him. And he did come to see me after he went to go see his probation officer, because that's how they have to go probation first and then the VSO. He came to me, we reestablished his claim, because when veterans are incarcerated, their benefits are reduced to 10%. They don't get the full benefit. So we got those restored from the month that she came out. Roberta got released and announced to me that she was becoming Robbie. So Robbie is now transitioning, and talked to me about goals, what his plans were. We also talked about increasing his VA benefits to get him a permanent 100% total, because we know his service-connected disabilities keep him from gainful employment, and VA recognized that and did grant that to him last month. It opened up the medical, and 100% permanent and total with the VA. You get complete medical coverage. You get your dental, your vision, your hearing. You get everything above and beyond service connection. And as Robbie said, that's huge. The medical piece is huge. And it provided housing. It's providing more education opportunities for him. And it's a stabilized veteran that's housed is a healthy veteran in our community. And that is very much something that we have to focus on.
Yes, actually, I'm very grateful that Colette, she's been my rock. She's helped me get my benefits, helped me adjust to society, even helped me with my memory, which is not part of her job, but she's paid so much attention to my needs, and she's done her job so well, above and beyond, that I can't be anything but grateful. Getting my 100% service disability with her help now allows me to get my transitional surgeries 100% covered. I'm excited about that. It is very hard to pay for those kinds of surgeries, and I'm grateful. Colette really helped me out with that.
All right. Those are our 4 videos that we have for you this evening. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to do Q&A. We have 2 veterans here from the 4 clips. We have Robbie here tonight, as well as Chuck. So we'll come back in a little bit, and we'll go from there.
The effects of active service on a veteran can be long-lasting. Veterans may experience a wide variety of illnesses or injuries, from loud noises, repetitive use injuries, chronic health conditions, and difficulty reintegrating to civilian life. The Department of Veterans Affairs offers a variety of benefits to mitigate the impact of their service, but many veterans are unaware of benefits available. Washington County Disability, Aging, and Veteran Services is here for veterans looking for information and assistance about veteran benefits. Our goal is to assist Washington County veterans and their families get access to the benefits they are eligible for and learn about federal, state, and local programs that they can use as resources. Whether a veteran is just coming home from service and transitioning back into civilian life, or has lived with a service-connected disability for years, we can assist them in applying for compensation and provide information about other resources that may be useful to their specific situation. Calling our office will put a veteran in contact with one of our accredited Veteran Service Officers, or VSOs. Washington County VSOs are county employees that have received specific training in VA benefits and are recognized by the VA as a qualified representative of a veteran. We can explain the claims process, initiate claims, and assist in gathering required records and evidence. We are here to help submit the right information on the right forms to the VA. We also help ensure that veterans understand and feel comfortable and supported with the process, and know exactly what benefits they are eligible for and how to access them. Our job is to advocate for veterans in the face of the complex Veterans Affairs system. We can help be a bridge to understanding how the VA's different parts work together and help apply for services like health care, disability compensation, and pension benefits. It's easy to feel overwhelmed and lost when trying to navigate the red tape of the VA. We partner with the Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs to help overcome the challenges of applying for benefits. That's why we're here, to help support veterans through the process and get them the benefits they deserve. Call us at 503-846-3060 to know more about how Washington County Disability, Aging, and Veteran Services can help veterans claim their benefits.
Welcome back, everyone. So I'm joined now with Robbie and Chuck. I wanted to let all of you know that the clips that you saw tonight will be on the Our Little Voices website, and this entire program, including this Q&A, will be on the Forest Grove Library's YouTube channel. Yes, I said it right. Okay, great. And so we're going to start off with questions. We received one comment from the chat, which I'm going to read. I actually took a picture of it, and it's not very age-friendly, but I can still read it. So Bab says the following: I am so moved by Robbie's story. I have no words to capture the courage he is demonstrating tonight as he chronicles his painful journey. Thank you, sir, for your service and for the impact you will have on so many others as they hear your story and are inspired to undertake their own healing. Thank you again for all those who made tonight possible. Thank you. Anybody in the audience with a question or comment tonight?
So I have a question.
Yes.
So for storytelling purposes, what has this experience been like for you, Chuck and Robbie, learning how to tell a story when we all think we don't have a story, but you clearly have great stories. So what has this been like for you?
Okay, I'll take it first round. Credit to Paul. He was able, with both email, talking on the phone, to draw out. So you may not think you have a story. He finds bits and pieces that can make a story and helps you express yourself. So the little snippets here and there and communication back and forth. So the director had a good part of that all the way through. And each of us out there has a story. We just have to have an instrument like Paul to help us get it out there.
What about you, Robbie?
Well, you're very helpful in guiding me, guiding the questions to pull the story out. Because as you can tell, sometimes I'm a little hesitant and very isolated type of person, but he seemed to know how to coax it out of me. And he's right, everybody has a story. It's just whether you want to take that time to set your pride on the shelf and use your story to help someone else who might be going through the same thing. And with Paul here, he just has a talent, a natural talent to just pull your story out of you in the gentlest way and get it out.
It's such an honor to work with all of you. And it's one of those things I feel like if we don't tell our stories, then they don't exist. And we know they exist, and they're very powerful stories. And so I appreciate everyone just being so honest and having courage to share stories. Yeah. Anything coming from the audience online? If not, I can toggle back to our live audience.
Toggle back to the live audience.
Yes.
And everyone remember to speak up.
Okay.
Thank you all for all the work that went into this and the courage for sharing your stories. This is really unique and so wonderful for our veterans. If you both, Chuck and Robbie, if there was one message from your personal story that you would like others to take from what you experienced, what would that message be?
And I'm just going to repeat that question real briefly in case the people at home didn't hear that. So the question is, if there's one thing from each of your stories that you really want to convey, that you want to get out there to the community, what would that be? All right, Robbie's going to take that one first.
Seek help. If you need help, seek help. Put your pride on the shelf. Seek help, because there are the resources available to you that you didn't know was available unless you speak to someone who has all those resources available that they know about. And if I hadn't have seen Colette, spoken to her, I would not be alive today. She had all the resources available to help me, and she even took the time as a VSO that was not her job to ensure I make it alive. Yeah, just seek help when you
Seek help. What about for you, Chuck?
One thing I want to say is you're not alone. We're normal, everyday people. And find that person that you can reach out to. Again, Robbie's saying seek help. A lot of times you get stuck in a mindset that you're by yourself. I'm the only one feeling this way. There is no hope. Well, I'm going to tell you, there's always hope. Find that one person. No matter what your situation is, as Robbie's saying, get the help. Don't, how can I put that? Don't disregard yourself, because each and every one of us are important.
And Paul, I just want to be the talking head from behind the camera and just point out that Oregon is very fortunate that we have county veteran service officers in every county. Our neighboring states don't all have that same type of coverage. And if you need referral to your county veteran service officer, you can call our office. We're happy to get you the right number for the county. And we're at 503-846-3060. And I put it in the chat too.
Perfect, thank you. One of the things I love about Oregon is that there is the CVSOs in every county, and you go online, it's that interactive website, and you click on the county, and it tells you the phone numbers to call. I just love that. I just think it's a great resource. But yes, so, and also I just want to give major kudos to Washington County for making this all happen and to be able to fund this so we have these videos living on. So thank you. Are there any other questions or comments?
I have one.
Okay.
Was it difficult for each of you to work through your strong habit of hiding yourself and feel natural in being open with all of who you are?
Okay. So I'm going to just repeat it briefly. Was it hard to work through and be able to sort of maybe just use your authentic voice, not hide behind that? Yeah. But how hard was it to do that, to be fully transparent and to be able to use your voice?
Well, since I'm an isolating type of person, and I know many other servicemen and women isolate, events like this is helping me. When I see events, since I don't like crowds, and I know other service people that don't like crowds due to PTSD, you really have to push yourself. Find a friend that you know you can trust in a crowd. We'll watch a drink. And just take one step at a time. With Colette, I'd speak to her and ask her things, and if she didn't have the answer, she'd find it, which is the military. But if you don't have an answer, I will find it. Then work together. But yeah, you really have to take one step at a time. Just don't go out to big old crowds when you're afraid of people. That it's a trigger for your PTSD. For me, I have service stuff. It forces me to get out and go meet people, go for a walk, stay healthy. And I would suggest get a dog or a cat or a guinea pig or something that you like, that will force you to get out and meet people. You never know who you're gonna meet. Life's like a box of chocolates. So yeah, you really never know who you're gonna meet, but just one foot at a time, one piece of the big pie at a time.
Thanks, Robbie. How about for you, Chuck?
I can just go with a story about after I was out of the service here in Portland, not Portsmouth. But I went to my first experience going to a gay establishment. I circled the block at least 20 times, working up the courage to go in because I was worried about meeting somebody that I already knew. And then when I can look back on it now, it's kind of funny because if they're already in that establishment, it's not, I was worried for nothing, but trying to work up that courage, it was scary. Older now, I don't care. I would just march right in and that, here I am, guys. Age has a bit to do with that, plus experiences. But it's something to, I thought I had to. I was tired of not being myself. And that's one of the main things with a lot of this is to be yourself and have confidence that you're okay.
Thanks, Chuck. I'm going to switch seats with Wendy. Wendy's going to close out our program tonight. Wendy Socha from Washington County. Wendy.
Thanks, Paul. I probably should have been the person answering that question. How do you not hide yourself? I'm not good at being here, so I like to be the person who organizes stuff and just does the work. You did work. You did work. I'm so honored to be sitting here. You're amazing, and everyone who has participated in this event, Forest Grove Library, ODVA, our storytellers. Let's give everyone a huge hand. We're kicking off Pride this year a little bit early, so let's keep it going.